The wolf was massive, its shoulders reaching the height of a man, its fur a thick silver-grey mane that shimmered like moonlight. It stood at the edge of the forest, its piercing yellow eyes fixed on the small, crumbling cabin where the old woman lay dying. For years the villagers had whispered about her and the beast she called her son. They said she was a witch, that she had tamed the wolf with dark magic. But the truth was far stranger, and far more beautiful. As the old woman took her final breath, the wolf let out a mournful howl that echoed through the valley, a sound so full of grief that it brought tears to the eyes of even the most hardened hearts. And then, it did something no one could have predicted. The old woman, named Ilara, had lived alone in the cabin for as long as anyone could remember. She was a healer, known for her knowledge of herbs and remedies. But she was also an outcast. The villagers feared her, not because she was cruel, but because she was different. She spoke to the trees, sang to the stars, and seemed to understand the language of the animals. One winter night, during a fierce snowstorm, she heard a faint whimper outside her door. When she opened it, she found a wolf pup, barely alive, its leg caught in a hunter's trap. Without hesitation, she brought it inside, nursed it back to health, and named it Fenrir. As Fenrir grew, so did the bond between him and Ilara. He was no ordinary wolf. He was larger, stronger, and more intelligent than any wolf she had ever seen. He followed her everywhere, guarding her as she gathered herbs in the forest, curling up at her feet by the fire at night. The villagers warned her that he was dangerous, that he would turn on her one day, but Ilara only laughed. "He is my son," she would say, "and a son would never harm his mother." Years passed and Ilara grew older and frailer. Her hands, once steady as she prepared her remedies, now trembled with age. Her voice, once strong and clear, now wavered when she sang to the stars. Fenrir never left her side, his presence a constant source of comfort and strength. But as the days grew shorter and the nights colder, Ilara knew her time was coming to an end. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Ilara called Fenrir to her side. She placed her hand on his massive head, her fingers sinking into his thick fur. "My dear Fenrir," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You have been my protector, my companion, my son. But soon I must leave you. Promise me you will continue to protect this forest, to honor the life we have shared." Fenrir let out a low whine, his eyes filled with sorrow. He pressed his head against her hand, as if trying to will her to stay. But Ilara's eyes closed and her breathing grew shallow. With one final sigh, she was gone. The villagers, who had always feared Fenrir, expected him to return to the wild, to become the dangerous predator they had always believed him to be. But what happened next shocked them all. Instead of disappearing into the forest, Fenrir stayed by Ilara's side, guarding her body as if she were still alive. He refused to let anyone near her, his growls warning them to stay away. For 3 days and 3 nights, he remained there, his mournful howls echoing through the valley. On the 4th day, the villagers gathered at the edge of the forest, unsure of what to do. They knew they needed to bury Ilara, but they were too afraid to approach Fenrir. Just as they were about to give up, a young girl stepped forward. She was no more than 10 years old, with wide, curious eyes and a heart full of courage. She walked slowly toward Fenrir, her hands outstretched, her voice soft and soothing. "It's okay," she said. "We just want to help." To everyone's astonishment, Fenrir stepped aside, allowing the girl to approach Ilara's body. The villagers watched in awe as the girl gently placed a bouquet of wildflowers in Ilara's hands, then stepped back to let the others do their work. Fenrir watched silently, his eyes filled with a mixture of grief and acceptance. As the villagers buried Ilara, Fenrir let out one final howl, a sound so full of love and loss that it brought tears to their eyes. And then he turned and disappeared into the forest, leaving behind a legacy of loyalty and devotion that would be remembered for generations. The story of Elara and Fenrir is a reminder of the incredible bond between humans and animals, and the power of love and loyalty. It challenges us to look beyond our fears and prejudices, to see the beauty and goodness in all living creatures. If this story touched your heart, consider supporting organizations that protect wildlife and promote coexistence between humans and animals. Together, we can create a world where every creature, no matter how wild or misunderstood, is given the chance to thrive.